My name is Emma and I am a proud Mamu woman. I would like to acknowledge and recognise the Narago people, whose country I work and live on, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging.
So we'll do 3, 2, 1 and then clap?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
This is what I mean about it. So it's like, has to be an able-bodied walking track. I deemed it from my risk analysis that I wouldn't bring small children up here because I do the program from kindergarten until year 12. So I already wouldn't bring any of the small kids. But when you get back up here... The main aim of the program is that the kids have a positive cultural identity so that they know that they're Aboriginal no matter how dark their skin is, no matter how much cultural stuff that they get to do, that they do have that connection, and we can kind of provide them with some small aspects of culture so they can start to learn and they can start making their own connections with the culture as well in their own families and their own lives. So we try and kind of bridge the gap between knowing that you are Indigenous and knowing that no matter what capacity you are connected to that culture, it's still valid and it's still a part of you. The history of Cooma is really built upon its like men from Snowy River and farming and rural history, which is great and there's nothing wrong with that, but I think that there's plenty of room to acknowledge the history of the land before it was farmed on. I don't know, ironic's probably not. Is ironic the right word? That you open up Lambie Gorge with a sign that says that it's a Aboriginal heritage site, and as you walk in, the first informational sign is that it was a rock bolt experiment for Snowy Hydro, for engineering, to make sure that when they were doing the rock bolting that it wasn't all going to fall out. So it's like, this is a really important cultural site, but also we didn't know that at one point, and so we stuck a bunch of rock bolts in it.
I don't care what nationalities you may have in you. You, like Australia, claim protecting and caring for it as your culture. And very few people get to feel this softness. And this is, to Aboriginal people, very, very sacred. This is what we call the Mother, Najang Gaia. So Mother Earth. And we're born of our mothers. And we're born of the earth. So that's how Aboriginal people treat it.
Get to Aboriginal culture can be really the extreme of people in communities, or you see people that are all painted up and playing didgeridoos and things like that. And when you know that you're Aboriginal but you don't have any connection to that, you don't know your elders or your family, or you don't see Aboriginal people, even something as small as seeing Aboriginal people, knowing that you are that but you don't do those cultural things can be really confusing. And so it's sort of like, well, am I really Aboriginal? Am I really part of the culture if I'm not super far into it? I'm still trying to find reliable information about the area because I don't really know.
Yeah. So, but they must have been like gotten it from somewhere.
Yeah, I know. So I'm just like, not everything that's kind of written on there is sort of, when you look it up, it's quite easy to say something's a women's business area,
Yeah.
but like that could be anything. Like it could be like a birthing place, or it could be like where all the women gathered, or it could be like where the women would teach law. Like calling it a women's business place is very vague, I feel. So Dadiri is like a mindfulness bush meditation. So we get the kids to do it when they're out in the bush somewhere where they can't hear any cars or sounds of people. It's a way to connect with the bush before you sort of go and explore it. So we get the kids to sit down and just be quiet for a couple of minutes, and we get them to sit and listen for all of the sounds that they can hear out in the bush that are normally like smaller noises that you wouldn't really be able to hear or you wouldn't really notice in your everyday life. So you can hear when we go out and do river paddles and things like that, they can hear the running water, and they can hear like the wind in the trees. They can hear different animals and birds and things like that. And sometimes when we've gone out, we kind of get them to listen for different kinds of birds, or we've heard kangaroos jumping and things like that. And then we also get them to talk about what they can feel. So we get them to talk about how they can feel the sun, or they can feel the wind across their face and things like that. And then we also get them to think about how they can feel the ground beneath them instead of just sort of being on the land, to kind of connect with it while they're sitting on it. And we normally do that either at the beginning or at the end of our activities, because at the beginning it's a really good way to get them to be introduced to like a bush environment, but also at the end it's a good way to sort of get them to calm down and sort of reconnect and think about it before they go back into like their busy little school lives.